So not supposed to be a big thing. Every safe and sorry under you.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Brad, how does John's injury change things, at least essentially for the season training camp?
Well, you know, it's interesting, Baxter. Before it, you know, obviously I've had a lot of time to plan how we would go about training camp. But before it, I was working more in 3 teams, and now we'll work in 2, and mix in some 3 in our smaller segments. But you know, we've got multiple primary ball handlers on this team, and you know, I've always been a guy that thinks you can play 2 point guards together and you can play 2 combo guards together, and so we've just got to figure out who can best get the most out of everybody else, and at the same time run that position as well as they can on both ends of the floor. It's an opportunity for Marcus. It's an opportunity for Phil Pressey. It's an opportunity for Evan Turner. It's an opportunity for all those guys. And you know, the only answer that I have for that is time will tell. You know, and I think that's the best way to go about it. And you know, and hey, Marcus is going to get plenty of opportunities on and off the ball, and I think that he is physically, mentally, emotionally ready for those. He doesn't have any experience yet, but that'll come quick. But at the same time, we have other guys, and it'll be great for him to compete for that. While at the same time, he's got to learn multiple positions. I mean, this is not an easy situation for him because you know, he'll have to learn the 1 for the next month, and he'll have to play some off the ball. You know, both during that time and after that time. So, you know, we'll see how that goes. And you know, he was a really good pick. I'm happy we picked him. I'm glad he's here. And you know, hopefully he hits the ground running.
At this point, how much do you think he can take? At
Excuse
this
me?
point, how much do you think he can take on? It seems like he's a person who's open to.
Yeah, so Mark, I'd say that having been with him, you know, we drafted him. We were with him in summer league practices, which he was great. Summer league performance, which he did some things great and needs to improve in other areas. And then been with him in individual work and small group work in the past month or so. You know, I just think he's a very mature guy, and he's going to be able to handle it as well as any 20-year-old would be able to handle it as far as taking things on. He's physically, you know, ahead of the game for that age, and I think mentally and emotionally very, very good, as good as I've been around at that age. So all that being said, he still is a 20-year-old in the NBA. So I think that, you know, that keeps it all in a little bit of perspective.
Once he does come back, what are you looking for?
Once Rondo comes back, what am I looking for? I just think he needs to be the best that he can be on both ends of the court, as many minutes through the game as possible. And I know that's extremely vague, but offensively, I think we need for him to lead the way by playing with great pace in the full court and in the half court. And then I think defensively, he needs to be our best detail guy, and he needs to be the guy that, because he knows what's coming. I mean, he knows everything that every other general NBA action he knows inside and out. He's a student of the game, and he's studied it now. Being able to get the other 4 guys all on the same page and staying on that page is the most important. That's the biggest challenge for anybody, but especially a leader with such a young team. I think we have 2 guys over 30 on our entire roster. I might be wrong on that, but you know, I think he's the 3rd oldest guy on our team. So he has to do all of those details and those little things exceptional because he's being followed.
Can you convey that now? Can you convey all of that leadership and some of those skills now?
Yeah, he'll have to do some of that, but I think the biggest thing for him is, you know, this is the time of the year where the coaches are probably louder than we will be later on. But he'll be able to do that throughout practices and throughout, you know, the early games that he misses in the exhibition season and early into the season. He'll be able to do that stuff. And then I think the most important thing for him in this rehab process will be building habits that he won't get a chance to build in technique work in the next 2 weeks. Like, we need to get, once he's able to start doing little things, we need to get him up to speed ASAP, because those are not things that you do just right out of the gate. We saw that a little bit last year. You know, I thought he came back and he did a lot of good things, but at the same time, we were limited to 20 minutes a game. He hadn't practiced hardly at all. We weren't able to help him be ready to have success. And that's our job as coaches, is to help guys be ready to have success at their highest level. And I think that that's where we have to do a really good job balancing everything with our team that's on the court and with helping getting him back to full speed once the appropriate time comes.
Brad, given what you experienced last year, first year, what kind of changes do you think you're going to make going not only in the training camp but throughout the season?
Well, I want a more aggressive mindset overall, offensively, defensively, more pressure, more pace, and hopefully do so with greater consistency. I thought at times we did that well. I thought at times we didn't. I felt like the details of the game were average on our team at best last year, and quite frankly, that's not okay. And that's my job, and we need to do a much better job with that to make sure that, you know, every team's got a margin for error. Some teams have a margin for error that's pretty big. Other teams have a margin for error that's pretty small. But you have to manage that with your commitment to doing the little things well. And we've got to do those much better, and we've got to do those as a team. If we can do those with aggression and pace, I'll feel better about ourselves.
It's safe to say you feel the latter, that it's pretty small, the margin of error at this point?
Well, I think that, you know, if you wrote down the people that you think are the contenders in the NBA right now, you may not have us on there. And I think that'd be fair to say that a lot of people would feel that way. And so to make up ground, you have to be great at the little things. You have to be great at being a team. You know, you have to look at it through a different lens than you don't have an all-star here, all-star here, all-star here. You have to look at it as, what can we all do to soar with our strengths to be the best that we can be? And I think that goes, you know, that's on us to continue to convey that message.
Brad, outside of Rondo, what are some of the key questions you want to see answered in preseason?
Well, yeah, so the key questions for me are who really separates themselves, not only as the best players to play, but the best groups. You know, I think we've added very, very solid, good players at a number of positions. When I look at a Tyler Zeller, Marcus Thornton, and Evan Turner, you know, go through the young guys that we've added, I think we've added some guys that can really help. And again, but very much focus on what do they do well and how do we put them in position to succeed, and who accentuates that when they're on the court. Those are the things that you're looking for. You know, Tyler's a rim runner. Tyler's one of the best bigs that I've seen running for a long time. If we ignore him running down the middle of the floor, then we've got to find somebody that's not going to ignore him. You know, I think that's where we've got to figure out who the best guys are playing together to make our team the best it can be. That's my big picture view right now.
Can Marcus win a starting role? Do you think with John out?
Got 14 guys that can win a starting role.
So you're not going to let him just because he's a rookie?
No, I'm not. I've never been that way, and you know, I think it's best to play the guys that are most ready on those days.
Other than Rondo, is everyone else healthy?
So let me go through it. Joel is going to be out for a couple of days with a mild groin strain, I believe, but it shouldn't be more past Friday. And then everybody else will be going in practice tomorrow. And, you know, I think with Gerald and Vitor, we're both monitoring the 2 practice thing for a couple of days. They'll go in both practices, but if we go a little bit harder and, you know, they're going to go in the hard practice both days, but the non-contact practice, if we go through 15 minutes of drills with cutting and everything else, we may just hold them out just to be, you know, overly safe.
Brad, what's been the biggest surprise for you going to the NBA?
Biggest surprise? Yeah, it's funny. I was talking to Jeff today. It's, you know, you're getting ready to have your first practice with your team, and there's so much that we have to do today that I don't really have time that I'll be able to talk to them today. You know, and in the past, you're always, everything else doesn't matter. You focus on your team, and I think that that's where I'm looking forward to getting to tomorrow. A lot of my answers may be long-winded today because, to be quite frank, I've got a bunch of practices on my mind, and that's kind of what I live for.
Rajan mentioned the word freedom when he asked to describe how you worked with him and how he works with you. You give him more freedom than he's ever had in the league. Why, and do you give anybody else that kind of freedom?
Yeah, I think we need to have our whole team play with that kind of freedom, but it's got to be led by our point guard. It's got to be called by our point guard. You know, I want to give them reads, I want to give them calls, but ultimately I want them to do it. And I think, you know, and we're going to all, probably every team will at some point refer to the beauty of the Spurs playing basketball last year, but as you look at what makes them so good, they run great actions, but there's so many reads and looks that they make off of those, and they're playing basketball. And I think if you look at not only them, but the best teams throughout the years here, you know, a lot of people will refer to that 86 team as a great passing team, a team that always made each other better, always made the right basketball play. There's a fine line. You can't script everything as a coach, and this is a game that's played fast, and the more options you can give on the fly, the better. And I think part of my job as part of the development side of things is to get these guys to be in a position where they can learn, grow, and read and make plays on the fly. And that's what I want to see. I want us to be not a scripted, you know, grinded out, call a set every time down the floor. I want us to be a read and react. There are 5 options on each little action, and let's go. And that's the way that I look at the game. And I think the best teams offensively play that way. Sometimes you have to manage it otherwise, but you know, I'd prefer not to.
Ladies and gentlemen, one last question, please.
You may need Evan to play point at some point, probably. You mentioned he didn't have a whole lot of success or experience in Indiana and Philly doing that. Were you talking to him about how you may want him to approach that?
I think the experience would way outdistance the success, because I don't think he played a lot of point. Maybe I'm wrong. But I know that he played point 1 year in college, and he was National College Player of the Year.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.